Squiz Kids acknowledges the traditional owners of the lands on which we podcast, the Turrbal and Kombumerri people.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Thursday, July 18. In Squiz Kids Today, Operation Cripple the Cane Toad. Blues win the State of Origin series. Squiz-E sniffs 100 fakes and a meteor rocks New York City. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
You're going to hear a lot about cane toads this morning, as newspapers, radio, TV and social media analyse the results of last night's State of Origin decider. And we'll have more about that in a minute. And that's because the Queensland Maroons are also often referred to as the cane toads, while the New South Wales Blues are known as the cockroaches. Why they couldn't have picked nicer animals, I don't know, but I digress. Up at the top of Western Australia, scientists are wrestling with an actual cane toad problem, as in real-life cane toads, the animals that long-time listeners of this podcast will know are my least favourite in the world, right up there with mozzies. Scientists in WA have drawn up a plan to stop the cane toads from migrating down out of the Kimberley, where they are already a pest, and into the rest of Western Australia. Now, cane toads are an introduced species, meaning they're not native to Australia. And they're also what's called an invasive species, meaning they take over habitats and kill our native animals and breed like crazy and generally cause lots of environmental damage to the ecosystems in which they live. Researchers in WA are hoping that a long stretch of desert will form a natural barrier to the advance of the cane toads, because toads need ponds and waterways to survive the dry season. But because cattle farmers have created wells and dams in this part of the country for their cows to drink from, the scientists have joined forces with those farmers and traditional owners to create special, raised watering holes in the desert, so that cattle can still drink, but they're too high for toads to access. And if you've got your environmental on in class this term, be sure to check out the excellent Squiz Kids shortcut we've produced on invasive species. I've stuck a link to it and a host of classroom resources relating to it in today's episode notes. You're very welcome.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've stopped in New York City, where all eyes were on the sky above the Statue of Liberty after a meteor is believed to have crashed through the Earth's atmosphere with a massive boom, burning up in a long horizontal fireball barely 40 kilometres above the Manhattan skyline. Manhattan is the main island of New York City, where many hundreds of skyscrapers reach to the heavens and millions of people live and work. The meteor visited the city during the middle of the day yesterday, freaking out thousands of residents who thought that maybe aliens had come from out of space. NASA, the American Space Agency, yesterday confirmed that daytime meteors were a common occurrence, and that most pass over our heads and burn up without us even noticing.
Sport time!
65 minutes was how long it took for the first try to be scored in the State of Origin decider in Brisbane last night in a hard-fought contest between the Maroons and the Blues. And then, for Queensland, very quickly after that, it all fell apart. 4 minutes later, the New South Wales Blues were across the line for their second try, which was enough to wrap up the game and the series, with New South Wales finally winning by 14 points to 4. It was widely hailed as one of the toughest games of the modern Origin era, with the team so equally matched that the score sat at only 2-0 to Queensland at half-time. It's the first win for New South Wales in an Origin decider in Queensland for 19 years, so somewhat historical, with the visitors just proving too strong in attack and defence. The State of Origin Shield now returns to Sydney to await next year's competition. Meanwhile, the players will return to their clubs and set aside origin rivalries, kiss and make up with teammates that they've just been pitched in fierce battle against, and tackle together what's left of the season. Because that's how footy rolls.
News hounds.
Every Thursday, Squiz-E the Newshound sticks his head into Squiz Kids HQ to report back on fishy things he's sniffed out on the internet. And this week, his nose has been working overtime. Following the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump on Sunday, social media has been awash with conspiracy theories and fake news, with people claiming the shooting was a setup, or staged, or a great big plot on the part of Trump's enemies, or even an event that was staged by Trump's supporters using fake blood in an attempt to win him sympathy. None of these theories have what we call any credible proof to back them up. It's a good reminder to be careful when we're on the internet, to always do as Squiz-E tells us, and that's to stop, think, and check whenever we come across a piece of information online. Think about who is telling us something and whether they can be believed. Check to see if they have any proper credentials as a journalist, or if they're just some random who has set up a social media account and happen to have a lot of followers. Remember, just because someone is popular on social media doesn't mean they're right. Good newshounds know only to rely on trusted sources of information. Thanks, Squiz-E. You've done it again.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the name of the statue in New York City that a meteorite passed over this week? Yes, of course, it's the Statue of Liberty. Question number 2. In which Australian state are scientists working on a plan to stop the cane toads? Well done if you said Western Australia. Question number 3. In state of origin, the Queensland Maroons are also known as cane toads. What are the New South Wales Blues also known as? They are, of course, known as cockroaches.
Shout-outs.
It's Thursday, July 18. Today is Nelson Mandela Day, celebrating the birthday of a very important man in modern history. And I've stuck a link to a kid-friendly video explainer in today's episode notes. It's also a special day today for these Squiz kids celebrating a birthday today. Kane from Rochdale, Audrey from South Brisbane, Bruce from Terry Hills, Thomas from Thaguna, Ava from Grovedale, Hayden from Gordon, and Charlie from Sydney. And of course, we're still working our way through the belated school holiday birthday shout-outs, for which, of course, we're going to have to crack out the old birthday reggae tune. Hit it! And it's a happy belated birthday today to Will from Duncraig, Tarzio and Lily from Nightcliff, Ellie from Howrah, Elise from Launceston, Lucas from Newbridge Heights, Emmy from Box Hill North, Mina from Cheltenham, Thomas from Mount Gravatt, Freya from East Brisbane, Olive from McDowell, Lakeisha from Mount Isa, Hunter from Woongarra, Jazzy from Templestowe, Joni from Cannon Hill, Caden from Oran Park, Rosie from Griffith, Juliet from Yass, good heavens there's a lot of you, Emily from Wentworth Falls, Alira from Baronia, Ollie from Mernda, Emma from Middle Harbour, Elizabeth from Bundaberg, Vivian from Barden, and Georgia from Parkinson. And don't forget, we'll be returning to classroom shout-outs next week, and if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au, or fill out the form on our website. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow with our Kids vs. Adults weekly news quiz, where you can test how well you've been paying attention to the week that just was. In the meantime, though, Get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out.